For today's lesson, we are learning to compare numbers within 999. So our learning target for this lesson is we are learning to use greater than, less than, and equal to compare three-digit numbers. The first problem we're going to look at is 358 blank 729. Now, we have a few different options that we can fill inside of that red circle. The first option is going to be greater than. If we put the greater than symbol inside the circle, that would mean that 358 is the bigger number. Another choice we have is less than. Now, if we put less than inside of the circle, that would mean that 358 is the smaller number. And the last choice we have is equal to. So that would mean that 358 would be the same thing as 729. So there are a couple different ways we can solve this problem, but we're going to use what we know about place value to do it. So when I have the number 358, I see that there are 300s in this number. In 729, I see that there are 700s. In 358, I know there are 5 10s and there are 8 1s. And in 729, I know that there are 2 10s and that there are 9 1s. Now, when I'm comparing two different numbers, I want to look at the first digit. So I'm going to look at the hundreds place for both of these numbers. I know that 300s is not as big as 700s. So that means that I'm going to put the less than sign inside of the circle. So what that's telling me is 358 is less than 729. Now, I knew that just because the hundreds are the largest place value in both of these numbers, and 7 is a larger number than 3. So this time we're looking at the problem 802 blank 518. Now, last time we talked about how we could just look in the hundreds place to decide which number is bigger because both of these are three-digit numbers. But if you're feeling confused or stuck, another thing you could do is use a place value picture to see which number is bigger. So for example, in 802, I know that I have 8 hundreds. I know that I don't have any 10s because there's a 0 in my tens place, and I know that I have 2 1s. Now in 518, I have 5 hundreds. I have 1 10 stick, and I have 8 1s. Now, just by looking at this picture, you can see that 802 is bigger because it has the most 100 boxes. So that means I'm going to fill in my circle with the greater than sign opening toward the bigger number. So 802 is greater than 518. And it wouldn't be an official math lesson if Puzzled Penguin didn't come visit and see if he was doing this problem right. So if you look at Puzzled Penguin's problem, he was given the problem 35 blank 245. And he's thinking, I know that 3 is greater than 2. Did I make a mistake? Now might be a good time for you to pause the video and decide if you think that Puzzled Penguin made a mistake. Now, I hope you realize that Puzzled Penguin did make a mistake. Now, what was his mistake? 3 is bigger than 2. He did get that right. He looked at 3 and he looked at 2 and he said, well, 3 is bigger than 2. But we know that because of place value, The 3 in 35 is a 10. And 3 tens, well, what are 3 tens worth? They're worth 30. Now the 2 in 245, that's worth 2 hundreds. Now, 35 also has 5 ones. And 245 has 4 tens and 5 ones. So we can see Puzzled Penguin was confused because he thought that he could look at the tens place in 35 and the hundreds place in 245. But he couldn't do that. He needs to realize that even though the number 2 is smaller than 3, well, 200 is a lot bigger than only 30. So he should be saying that 35 is less than 245. All right, second graders, now that you have practiced a few different problems and helped out Puzzled Penguin, it's time for you to work on homework 6-3 and remembering 6-3.